o'clock. All right, we're live. Welcome to the noon hour session of the Webmasters Posse. Right now I have Agnes and Len here, and we're quickly awaiting Chris to join us. Today's topic for discussion, there's Chris.
Hello, Chris.
You timed that so well.
I always just pop in, you know.
He had just no more said your name than you appeared.
It's magic.
Ask and you shall receive. That's what I've heard. Put it out there to the universe. Isn't that what Jeanette was saying yesterday, Len? Is put it clearly out to the universe and state it in the first person and just keep stating it till it shows up in your life.
I'll tell you what, she was a ball of energy, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I really appreciated the lift I got when you're in the presence of somebody that is happily and excitedly sharing what they're passionate about. It really is a boost to your own energy if you're open to it, and I found it very positive and quite uplifting.
Myself also.
Absolutely. She's a really interesting lady.
Maybe, Lynn, you could put the replay into Web Posse group so Agnes can see it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fine. I'm always looking for new information about people that are doing things successfully online, especially when they have free information we can learn from or very inexpensive communities we could jump into and meet some new people at.
Well,
so on about today.
The replay links for all this stuff is out there in my channel on YouTube, but I'll drop it into Lunch with Len.
Fair enough. I can find the link in there. No problem.
If I drop it there, then anyone who wants it can get it.
Yeah.
Who was the guest?
Her name is Jeanette Maw. She is the author of Pray Rain Journaling. And if you don't know what Pray Rain is, that's okay. You can, I mean, this is probably not the appropriate place for me to try to introduce the concept. So I'll just put the replay.
Okay, I'll check out the recording.
Perfect. So this discussion today was to be about attraction marketing, what we think it is, how we use it, and the advantages to having it in part of your business organization. The request was made by Peter during last week's session that he would like to know how, because he felt that all of us having different backgrounds, training, and experience would have a different take on it. And one of the things we found here on the Posse, it is in the discussion of what works for each one of us that the other people present contributing get the bits and pieces to help them complete their own puzzle. Quite often, you need to hear things explained 2, 3, 4 times, then all of a sudden you have that, oh, that's what everybody's been talking about. So we're hoping to stimulate a couple of aha moments as each of us share on the topic how we use or don't use it. I don't know if I'm using it the way it was designed, but I am using it. So it should be interesting to hear how each of us, I mean, some of us have the same training and some of us have completely different take. So I think this is going to be very rewarding for all participants. And I know that Agnes has done homework because I can see that she's ready to start sharing what she's come to learn. So I'm going to let you start off the discussion, Agnes, because I know you're more organized than I am.
Actually, I was up so late last night that I thought I could stay up past midnight and get organized, or I can wing it. So I am, in fact, winging it today. However, I've put a lot of thought into it, and I feel really strongly that even when it's attached to marketing, attraction needs to be a two-way street to work. So, you know, I think some of the basic things we learn about attraction marketing is to tell a gripping story that the client will relate to, and lots of knowledge to share, and that will make you attractive to them. However, I feel really strongly too that you need to know exactly who you want to speak to. So you need to be equally attracted to your potential client. It's the old story, is if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. You know, if you're just going to throw your message out there and hope something sticks, then you're going to struggle for a long time. Before we started the call, I was saying to Michael that I did get an interesting email from a young man who's just starting out, and he was asking what my #1 tip was for new marketers. And I'm just going to read part of what I've sent back to him in an email. And basically, what my #1 tip was, just never to get too hung up on your product or your comp plan. And basically what I said is, what I recommend is that a marketer, a potential marketer, decide what it is that sold them on the company and their products, and then make a list of why a client might buy. Does your product solve a problem? Does your product make them feel special? Does your product make some part of their life easier? From there, create a story in which your product becomes the hero. But you have to know your story inside and out. And if it's your own story or it's easier. But as long as the story stays consistent and honest, you're fine. You have to know all about the pain your client is in and how and why your product will be their hero. You also have to decide who you want to tell your story to. And I gave the example that in one of my ebooks I used the story of arthritis pain, and what I said in my ebook was, let's say you're selling arthritis information and pain relief. First of all, not everyone has arthritis. Of those who have arthritis, is there a demographic you're not comfortable with or you can't identify with? If you're a 50-year-old woman who's had her arthritis set in slowly and painfully over the last few years, you might not be able to identify with a 70-year-old man who's resentful about the way his arthritis has forced him to abandon the only hobby he's ever had, which is woodworking. Or how about a 22-year-old who was thinking she was on her way to a full and charmed life, only to find herself living with unending pain and that none of her friends identify with because they can't see it. She's increasingly being excluded from their activities, and her isolation is now affecting her mental health. You really need to decide where your area of comfort and expertise is, and then narrow your audience to that arena. People love stories, and if they love your story, they grow to love you, and that's when you can sell to them. Before then, it's all just more snake oil. Know, like, and trust is our mantra for successful marketing. And I did spend some time on that email, so that's sort of how I feel about attraction marketing. It's definitely a two-way street.
Nice stuff, Agnes. I hadn't quite put it that way, and it is very clearly, it's like you say, it's a two-way street, but really it's developing you have to have the clear picture of what you have to offer. Then you have to decide who you're going to offer it to. Then you need to decide how you're going to offer it to them. And all those things have to be consistent with you and what you're offering, because if there's any disconnect between you, your offer, and who you're talking to, they're never going to make the connections you need them to like and trust you and use what you're representing.
Yeah, very much so. You know, especially in this day and age, no matter what you're offering, and that was another part of my lead into that email, was there's so many products out there, and something may be unique for a short time, but if it catches on, it will be duplicated. Some product lines have so many options to choose from that it's next to impossible to stand out in the crowd for a potential buyer. And you know, so and same with the marketer. There's so many people out there doing business right now that if you're not true to your message, true to your product, true to your client, they'll smell a rat because they're smart. And if they don't smell it immediately, they will very shortly.
So that's in the disconnection where you're not consistently talking about your product, or where you're changing the offering every 2 or 3 months, or where you're jumping around. You know, I got a company that has 25 different products, but I only ever talk about the same 3 or 4 of them because I don't want to confuse people. Those are the ones that were important to me and important to the people that I'm focusing on, which is people either facing or have had a heart attack that want to lower their blood pressure, lower their cholesterol while getting some sort of control of their weight. But those are all specific things, so I try to stay with the things I use. I don't even talk about some of the offerings the company presents because I either never used them, so they weren't relevant to my story, which is what I'm using to share the message, or that I just don't think you can, in any fairness, promote everything a company offers just because you're selling what the company offers. I think that all of us have our favorites, and if we stick with the favorites, we're more likely to have that passion present, which people are going to find pleasant and welcoming when they need the information.
Exactly. And clients are smart enough too. Sorry, I just have to let my dog out here. Clients are smart enough too that, you know, if they're on your company website, your duplicated website, buying, and they see there's other products, they're going to check them out. And it's the old story. If you like one product from a store, you're going to buy a related product from the same store. That loyalty goes a long way.
Yeah, but by like task, if every month you took the product of the month and put it out in front of your promotions and it changed every month, you're going to confuse your audience and they never make a sale because they don't know whether you're serious or whether it seriously works, because you're always changing to the next best thing or this month's promotion. And I think that's where a lot of marketers get confused. It's picking specifically where you're going to start them and holding to that as closely as you can while putting the information around that supports it. Where I found my problem in the beginning was I would get excited about a tool or a training or new product, and that would be the focus for the next 30 or 60 days. And in that time, I wasn't actively working on the real message, the core message, which was me and what changes I'd made and how that could be implemented by somebody else who wanted to repeat the outcome.
Mm-hmm. I've just recently read that whereas you used to have to be in front of a client 5 or 6 times, I think, in order for them to buy, it's now gone up to about 12 times. So if you're sending a message out even weekly, you can see that if your product changes every month or every 2 months, it just won't happen.
I think when I started just over 2.5 years ago, the people at Daily Marketing Coach were saying 7 times, but I recently read an article that said 11, which is very close to the 12 you're at. So, Chris, do you have something that you'd like to say from your experience in this space? Some tidbits you'd like to add to the conversation?
Well, after further study, and I've been through several courses about prospecting and getting leads on social media, but this course is completely different. The philosophy behind attraction marketing is it's a chemical reaction, a total chemical reaction, and you have no choice. If you're attracted to a person, it chemically reacts and you are drawn to that person. It's not about your product or your service, and it's not logical. You think back when you met a boy, or in your case, in Lynn's case, a girl, and you just were so excited. You were chemically attracted to that person, and you didn't have a choice, and there was no logic to it. If you ever saw the movie Christmas Story, the kid wanted nothing but a Red Ryder, but everybody kept telling him, "You'll shoot your eye out." But he was determined, he was attracted, and he chemically wanted that rifle. And he never gave up. So people are attracted to people that they believe can help and protect them. And it's chemical, and you've got to work at it.
So in what ways are you suggesting we can work on this? If it's a chemical reaction, how can we affect it by what we say and share?
Well, like Agnes said, you've got to know your market, and you've got to put things out there that will attract people to you, and then you build the conversation and relationship. But they will be chemically reactions to you by what you're sharing.
So what you're saying is if they have rapport with what you're sharing, they will have no choice but to find you and find out what you're doing and find out how it will work from them. Is that what I'm understanding?
To an extent, I mean, they're going to check out your profile. They're going to check out if you've done any videos. If you're doing webinars, they'll check that out. They're going to stalk around for a while, but they are drawn to you because they believe you've got something that they want.
I like that idea. I have seen that happen. I don't know that I'd want to stake my entire business future on the people that have a perfect rapport and resonate with me, but I certainly love the idea.
I think too that I agree 100%, except that over time, no matter how attracted you are to someone else, if it's not returned and they're interested, it wears down.
Oh yeah, the reaction will go away if it's not responsive, and if they find out. I mean, if you're putting out something fake to attract somebody, they're going to find out sooner or later.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So really, it's all in what we're putting out there, and we need to vibrate at the same rate to the people we want to have that rapport with.
Exactly.
And we have to vibrate honestly.
Yes, with integrity.
Long term, that's where the challenge is as human beings. Not only do we have to be honest with ourselves, but we have to be honest with everybody in all our business dealings, especially today. You can't be rude to somebody in a group or in a private situation and expect there not to be ramifications down the road. You also can't just be forever looking for new people and not stopping and talking to the people who put up their hand and want your attention, because if you ignore them that first time, they may never put their hand up again, and that may have been the one this month that's going to take it and run with it. And really, we're at the beck and call of the people we attract, and it's in recognizing that they're responding in ways that we normally wouldn't expect, where we have to keep our focus and really pay attention. I'm guilty of it sometimes myself. I don't check my blog every day for comments, but I know that I want to respond to somebody that's left a comment on my blog within 24 hours. So I have to remember, check in the back office every day, even if it's not a post day. If it's one of my YouTube days where I'm not posting a blog on my blog, I still need to go check it, because if there's a comment, people are going to want a response right away. They're going to want to see that you're involved and interested in them. And likewise, that first response can't be, how can I help you with a product? It needs to come back to what do they need, what do they want, what's in it for them. I think it is the first step after the initial contact.
You know, if you want to keep them with you forever or for a long, long time, you've got to do that. You've got to know their pain, and you've got to know them as a person. We're not doing this face-to-face anymore. There are people in a little box that sits in front of us on a desk. So we've got to go the extra mile to get to know them.
Yeah, I understand. It's in the personal connection and development of the relationship where there's long-term, not business isn't the right word, where the positive results keep happening. As long as both people are receiving something from the relationship, they're going to keep working on it. And once one person isn't receiving something that's beneficial, they're going to very quickly leave, or at least, stop actively participating.
And that's going to happen in your business. It's going to happen.
And I think therein lies the value of video as well, because you, with a bit of practice, you can let your personality come through. So they do get to know a very small piece of the real you. It's not just your written word and still photograph.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Or worse yet, the people that have the caricatures and the company logos as their picture on Facebook, you got to wonder where they took their marketing training. I was that guy 6 years ago when I first came on Facebook, partly because I didn't know any better, partly because I was new to being online, but it didn't take me long to figure out that it was me they needed to talk to and me they needed to connect with. The hardest part was figuring out how that would happen because I didn't know anything about blogging or websites or attraction marketing until about 2 years ago. It wasn't until after I'd had my heart attack and started my recovery I was exposed to any training that was in any way related to attraction marketing, or how by telling a clear story that people could get excited about, how you could actually make money and attract a following. And for me, really, it was when I went from the written word to video, because I'm a better speaker than I am a writer. And people, as Agnes just said, they want to see you. They want to hear your passion. They want to understand what makes you tick so they can figure out whether they like and trust you. And anybody can say anything in the written word, but there's a presence that happens. One of the reasons I really like these sort of meetings is I get to see the expressions of the people that I'm interacting with. I get to hear their voice, and it's in the tone and intonation and in the vocal range where you can figure out whether you're moving towards or away from them. And it's when you don't have any of these physical cues or audio cues that you can really quickly become disconnected with your audience and lose any hope of helping them figure out a way that you can help them. So Lynn, you're sitting back here a little bit, not saying very much. Can we have your ideas on attraction marketing and how they work in an online business situation to move us all forward?
Sure. You know, it's hard to follow three people that have talked about it, because a lot of what you said already is, I would repeat much of it. I would emphasize that first off, I would emphasize that we really are face to face. We're face to face. We're face to face right now on a webinar, but even on Facebook, we're face to face in many ways, because all of our pictures are out there, and this is one of the reasons why we train people on putting up their fan page, and we encourage them to put a good, recognizable picture of them as their profile picture, because you want to be able to walk in the grocery store and recognize them and say, "Oh, I know you. You're the person I'm talking to on Facebook." So, I think it's important to realize that this is a people-to-people business. A lot of the early conversation a few minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, focused on not changing products, and focused on the message and putting the product out there 12 times and all this stuff. That's all push marketing. That's not pull marketing. That is what television does. It pushes people. That's not what attraction marketing is. Attraction marketing at its core is, and I agree with Chris, it's more chemical at its core. It is making me attractive to you, so that you come to me and you want to know what I'm about. So that implies the know, like, and trust factor that's got to be there. It implies that I really care about you. It implies that I use that half as much as I use those, because I need to hear what you're saying to me. I need to value you as a person. And remember, people will long forget what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And if you make people feel good, then they're going to want to come to you for more. And that's the trick. That's the secret. The secret sauce is in making people feel important. Everyone's got a sign around their neck that says, "Hey, make me feel important." And if you can do that, then you can attract them to you. Now, it doesn't matter what your product is anymore. The product may or may not be a fit for that particular person, but if it isn't, if what you have isn't a fit for them, then you know somebody who has something that is a fit for them, and we can all work together in this field of plenty, because there really is plenty for everybody and everything. There's enough to go around. We don't have to operate from scarcity at all. But I also agree that we have to know who our target audience is. I mean, obviously, if I'm selling prophylactics, I'm not going to target 12-year-olds. So, I mean, there's clearly a target market that we need to identify for products, whatever they are, and that's the market we want to talk to. But we want to talk to that market in such a way that we make them feel like we understand their pain, that we are their friend, we are on their side, and we're here to help.
No, I think that's a great take on it. And you have brought us back around full circle. It's about being comfortable with sharing enough of yourself so that they can see you're a person and that they can relate to how you feel and what you've experienced. It's in that classic vulnerability that people will become comfortable with you and your message. If you're constantly just going through the same canned speech or the same company mantra or the same product outcome story, that's not going to be attractive to people. They want to learn the bits and pieces that make you unique and what made it tick for you. And you're hoping in sharing those details that you're going to stimulate that chemical response, because in the storytelling, they're going to feel something that is real from their own experience. And it's once they can relate to having had or felt or acted the same way you've shared that rapport starts to really stack up and build. And then the people, through the interactions of hearing what you have to say and share in different formats, you said you would have trouble following us, but you found a different take on the whole conversation. Each of us has something we do very, very well, but each of us also has something that we are completely challenged with or blind to how it holds us up. So it's in knowing where to spend your energy and in what works with other people that you're going to shorten the time frame for your own journey, and likewise for the journey of the people that follow behind us. And I think that the clearly having a picture of yourself that is easy to recognize is one of the most important things. There's nothing worse than running into somebody in your community you know online and they don't recognize you. I think that's probably the absolute worst situation you could end up in. The whole point of name and face recognition is so that you can connect with everybody when you meet them. And if it's a picture of their dog or some funny graphic, you're never going to know them when you see them, and that's probably a clue that you don't want to invest a lot of time in those people. Some of the trainers I said have spent time with in the last year said, seriously, you need to start checking out the people you interact with before you invest a lot of time in them. Go over to their Facebook page, see what they're posting, make sure that they are, first of all, a positive person moving forward. If they're sitting around bitching about everything that doesn't work in their life and all these problems they're having, you may not want to go and vibrate down to that level where you can be attractive to those people. It's not just about attracting anybody that'll hear what you have to say. You need to be attracting the people that need, want, and have to have what you're offering. And it's only in clearly defining who those people are and who you are and what you have to offer that all those things are possible. When I first took an attraction marketing course 2 years ago, I was of the misconception that it was about setting up a website where you talked about something that was popular so you could get everybody's name and email so you could sell them something on the back end. And it's taken over 2 years for you to figure out that's not how it works, but that was the basic gist I had at the end of my first 45, 60 days of training. It seemed like all these people were focused on telling something or creating something that wasn't necessarily what they were marketing, but because it was desirable or palatable to their audience. I didn't realize that it was all part of filtering who you are, what you do, and what you have to share so that people can see who you are, what you're offering, and whether or not they want to share it of it.
Yeah, you have to be congruent in your advertising.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, you don't want to be talking about basketballs if you're going to an old folks home and everybody's 70 years old and has hip and knee problems.
But wait a minute, just a cotton picking minute here.
Are you a basketball player, my young friend?
I'm not a basketball player, but But that's why it's so important that we put so much emphasis on putting value into the marketplace. And you look at if you look at the people that are really making it big, they are people that put a lot of value into the market. Excuse me. One of my role models is Ray Higdon, and he's just value, 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 value. Oh, here's a product, value, 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 value. Oh, by the way, here's, it's really putting value out there rather than pitch, pitch, pitch.
The product offer almost comes as an afterthought. It's not the focus of what's being shared.
Well, that's by design.
That's what, Chris?
It's by design that seems
yes.
like that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
But it does take
so much value out that, and everyone wants to read everything he has to say. Or not everyone. The people that are attracted to him want to read everything he has to say because he puts so much value out there. And every now and then he slips in oh, we're going to have something for sale at the end of this webinar. Okay, fine. We'll listen.
I think I just got off a webinar before coming on here, and she was sort of saying that it was just arranging your social media, but if you don't have a product right now to sell, it doesn't stop you from getting your list together. Right. And she was talking about people who said have just delivered value in emails. Just email them and give them information, value, 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 and by the time you've got a product to sell, she said this one incident in this one incident, the person that she was working with was providing value as they built their product, and before it was even done, people are emailing saying, I don't care anything that you're selling, I'll buy it because you're the real deal. And that happened.
I've heard the stories like that before.
And there in a nutshell is the epitome. That is the soul of attraction marketing. The soul of attraction marketing. And you can get people to say, whatever you've got, I'll buy it. I love you. I believe in you. I trust you. You've done it. You've done well, my friend.
That's my goal.
But you remember, not everyone, in what you said early in the game is you do have to know what your avatar is. Who are you trying to attract? Because you're not going to be attracted to everyone. I know it comes as a crushing blow, but there are some people that aren't going to be attracted to you. Yeah, thank God for little things. There's a lot of people out there. In fact, I can tell you a few that I wish weren't attracted to me.
Okay, can I digress here for a minute? Anybody wants to go into their Facebook messages and look at the other box. It's a scary place of who might be attracted to you. It's the worst of the worst.
Well, there's a reason they have those spam filters, right? Even Facebook knows who the bad people are.
Some of them still get through every now and again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at least once a week I actually make a mistake with somebody I friend, and I have to go back once their stuff starts appearing in my feed and delete them because they're either into some wacko political opinions or, they're posting pictures of scantily clad girls, and I don't mind that, but I don't want that in my feed on Facebook where I'm talking about health.
That's right.
Well, what's unhealthy about scantily clad girls?
That's right.
If you're lining up for a heart attack, there's a lot. But just going back to Facebook for a second, it's the same even, on my fan page, that's one thing, but I keep my profile page too pretty middle of the road. I will occasionally go on a rant, but if I've got dirt happening in my life, trust me, it is not on Facebook. If I've got any drama in my life, it's not on Facebook. And
that's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with social media is people forget that they need to filter what they share. I got a couple of people in my Facebook feed, and as the wife and I point out every time we share it with each other, we only keep these people in our Facebook because some of the things they do are so amusing. We need to share them with the world because they need a laugh. But I actually, in some cases, I have to go and edit the post from these people because, yeah, some people share really personal stuff that isn't good with the whole world. It's like, wow.
I say you guys don't ever see my farm bill stuff, do you?
I was not aware you were a gamer. You've never invited me.
Well, oh, damn, I've played this thing since its inception. But I've got it. The people that I play it with, I've got on a list, and when I share anything from that game, it only goes to that list, which is really nice.
Have you found a way to get in touch with any of these people or develop relationships through playing the game and being connected with them?
A couple of them have, when they see some of the stuff I'm doing, they'll become curious. But yeah, I do build a relationship with quite a few of them.
As long as the time you're spending is taking you somewhere you want to go, that's absolutely wonderful. When I first came on Facebook, I spent my first year just playing games, but I never figured out a way to, I don't know, maybe I wasn't focused enough on other people to be developing relationships, or maybe I just wasn't the right person yet. But I found I had to stop playing the games because I wasn't getting anything else done but the next step in the game. And it's a personal thing. I can't do repetitive things I enjoy because I'll just sit around all day doing them. I had the opportunity. My kids like those first-person shooter and role-playing games on the computer and online, but I know me, and if I was to go and do that, I would never get a blog post or a video done. I just don't have the self-discipline. If it's there installed on my computer, I'd be out playing Warcraft all day. I'd love to live in a fantasy world, but unfortunately that don't pay the bills.
That's true.
And I'm the opposite. I have actually never played a game on the computer or on Facebook, and I refuse all such requests. Perhaps for the same reason. They become addictive, and they become huge time consumers. So, Chris, I didn't realize you were in a gamer.
I just play one game, Farmville.
Yeah. I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I play Scrabble.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that works on your editorial skills. I'd hate to play Scrabble with you. You know how to spell all those big words.
You know, but let me circle back. One of the things, and I think you said this, Chris, and I don't. I think you mentioned that we weren't face to face. Was it you who said that?
I said we meet people on this little box that's sitting right in front of us.
And you know, and I made the comment that in many ways we really are face to face, and that's one of the reasons why video, I think, has become so dominant and is growing at such a phenomenal rate. And you alluded to it, Michael, with some of the things you said, because video gives people a chance to know, like, and trust you, to see who you really are, to see past the facade. And done properly, it gives people a glimpse into you as a person. And, I mean, you know, my morning coffee with Len videos are a good example. My audience is just growing in leaps and bounds, and I get some of the videos get hundreds of views, and there is nothing programmed about those videos. Sometimes the camera is running before I know what today's topic is, and I sure as hell don't know what I'm going to say. Even if I know what the topic is, I don't know what I'm going to say until I start talking. They're not scripted, and they really give a view. And I've touched some pretty controversial topics. I've touched on things like, what is God? So they give a view into me as a person. And I would encourage, I encourage everybody who's wants to build themselves in this space to use video, because I think it's a very, very powerful medium to build an audience of people who are attracted to you, do know you, and do like you, and do trust you. End of spiel.
I agree.
I agree with you, Len. I honestly think that had I done video a year ago, I'd be ahead about a year and a half in my journey.
Yeah.
It was
a powerful medium.
Once I started. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that, I think you hit the nail on the head with it being unscripted. I know when I first started doing video, like in my About Me video or whatever, Work With Me, they were scripted. And I look back at them now, and it's just like, oh my God, it was like I could have just been the English teacher reading out of a book, no matter how relaxed I tried to be. And now that I'm winging it on video, I'm getting much better reviews,
Yeah,
and I
and
feel
more
better.
attractive. When I first started video, and the very first thing I did is I actually took a course, a video course, and they talked about teleprompters, and there were teleprompters that you could look to the camera at, and you had it all scripted out, and you stood up and you bounced, and you just it was television 101 from the 1950s. And that's not what people on the internet are about today. It's not what they're about.
So if they'd like to watch the news, they'd be watching the news on TV, so don't be that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually start off with a basic outline, and I put it on my computer monitor and click that page up when I'm doing videos. But for me, it's only 5 or 6 key points I want to cover. I've never had the patience to sit down and script out the entire time. And even on the 2 or 3 occasions I have gone back to redo a video and I've transcribed the whole thing, I've never once completed a script to the very, very end in its entirety ever, I don't think. At some point, the passion of what I'm speaking about or the message, I say something and it takes me off in a different direction, and it's in those incidences, I believe, where the people start seeing you for who you are and what's important. If it's all canned and scripted, you might as well go to the company website and copy their home page and put it up and call it your blog, because that is going to be the result. You're going to end up looking and sounding like every other person that's promoting that company stuff. It took me almost a year to edit the company back out of my blog after I spent a year blogging about them, and it made a big difference. I talk about it, but it's not the focus of the conversation. It's brought up maybe every third or fourth thing, video or post, has a reference, but it's not the only thing going on. It's not the sole thing. I'm actually more and more trying to put in the spin of how right thinking, as well as proper eating, as well as ever-increasing basic exercise is the program. It's not one of these things. It's all 3 of these things done together, with the focus being on where you want to end up, which is a healthier, happier you. Because as we all know, we all get what we focus on most. So if we're focused on, lack, scarcity, and pain, we are going to draw all those things back into our lives. So it's in these sessions we can work on what works for us and then share it with each other and our audience. I'm probably going to clip 1 or 2 pieces out of this to use at some point later, because other people will want to know our take on attraction marketing before they start their formal training maybe. There's a lot of gold here, because I think collectively there's probably 10, 12 years worth of online experience just here at the 4 people at this meeting, and if you've only been around for 6 months, it could save you a lot of wasted time and energy. I'm just going to ignore everybody for 3 seconds. I've got a message here on Facebook from Peter, and I'd like to see what it's all about, so maybe I can give you some information about why he wasn't here today. So if somebody else like to talk for 2 minutes, that'd be absolutely wonderful.
I did my first video on Camtasia this morning.
Oh, good. Were you comfortable, or were you all fluttery?
It's the angle. It's the angle of where the way I've got my computer. So I was sort of having to move around. But what I did was do a notepad and typed out my main topics that I wanted to talk about, which it just happened to be on attraction marketing because I finished the course last night.
What course was that you were taking?
Attraction Marketing Intensive.
From Diane?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had the notepad up, and I was able to have it up while it was recording, and the angle I was looking at, I may have been looking at it, but it looked like I was looking at the screen, so it worked out okay.
I think, you know, quite often there's a few people who are naturals right from the get-go. But I think a lot of us are a little uncomfortable when we first get in. Once we know the camera's rolling, and it just takes time. You know, it's so much easier now. What I was going to add in there too was I even find on my PowerPoints, where PowerPoints are pretty well scripted, is I tend to stand up and I have my script and I get a little theatrical just to try and keep it less like reading.
Yeah.
And of course you can't see me on the camera because it's just a PowerPoint.
Right.
But it's the trick I have to play with myself to sound a little bit more conversational.
I how to run this Camtasia thing, so I'm sure I'm going to love it once I get better at it.
How's Peter?
Peter is well. His wife is on a ventilator under heavy sedation, though.
She's what, on a ventilator?
She's under sedation on a ventilator. She's been diagnosed with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's an immune disorder that attacks the peripheral nervous system.
I've heard of it, but I didn't know exactly what it was.
Okay.
But she was rushed to hospital on Monday and then flown from the local hospital to a major center to get treatment, and that was all I knew until this post today. Peter messaged me in the group this morning he wouldn't be able to attend because she was at a critical point in her treatment, but I guess now she's resting comfortably and they've done everything they can for her, and it's just now a wait and see.
Oh, dear.
I don't know much about the prognosis or anything. I'm not even familiar with the illness. But the family's facing a lot of challenges. Peter, as he shared in the group, has had his thyroid removed and has undergone chemotherapy for cancer of the thyroid. He had stage 3 cancer diagnosed back in November of last year. So both of them are having serious health challenges and could use everybody's good thoughts and prayers at this time for them.
Absolutely.
Who was it that said growing older isn't for sissies?
Yeah.
So,
If you live long enough, it will kill you.
This is supposed to be the golden years, right?
Well, I'm going to live forever, and so far so good.
what did she have, Michael?
It's called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Quilllain.
Q-U-I-L-L.
Is it Q or G?
Oh, sorry. G. No. Yeah, I gotta look here. No, it is a G. Yeah, Guillain. Barré syndrome.
B-A-R-R.
Yeah.
With an E on the end.
You have to go with French Nazis. Grammar people.
Alrighty. Well, I just had a stream of emails come in, a couple of which I need to respond to, so I'm ready to call it a day if you are.
Yeah, please. Thank you for attending. Thank you for sharing your 2 cents. I'm sure that somebody will get a lot out of this when they sit in front of it. There was some great information shared here today, so thank you for participating and all your contributions to the group, Len. We'll see you when you have time to fit it into your busy life again. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And Chris, you and I need to chat with you, so I'll probably be chatting with you this afternoon sometime if you're there.
I'll be here.
All right. We'll talk to you folks later. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Len.
So what's our topic going to be next week?
I don't know yet. You think that I plan this stuff and organize it?
You're usually prepared, so how can we prepare if you're not prepared?
Okay. I can figure this out.
What's your biggest struggle right now?
My biggest struggle?
No, I'm going to say that. I'm just suggesting a topic.
Oh, I see. Each one of us could bring up our biggest struggle and get some feedback on it. That would be a nice place to start. That was one of the reasons for putting this group together, actually. So that's a good one, Agnes. I will put it in the group, and everybody could bring one thing they would like help, input, or details on as feedback, something they need to move themselves forward. I know that I have, the problem for me is going to be figuring out the one that's the most important issue. I've got 2 or 3 things that have been an issue, and I'm sure by Wednesday next week only one will be, and that'll be my request of the group.
I've got an issue, so your input will be invaluable.
And that's what we're here for. We're hoping to save you having to pay somebody to give you your answers.
There you go.
That's why it's a free forum for those that want to participate.
There you go.
At one time, I'd hoped to monetize this, but that's okay. I get more out of the people and the contacts and the positive feedback than money could ever reward me, because it helps me more clearly define how I'm going to share what I'm going to share. I can't explain in simple terms, but I honestly believe that having this group and the support of this group is one of the reasons I'm still steadily but slowly moving ahead. Alone, we're never going to be able to figure out everything we need to know to make everything work efficiently, and it's in the sharing in this group and groups like this that we're all going to get better faster, because I know Agnes has some experience with editing language and videos. Chris, you're at the other end of the same sort of thing. You've got, I understand, some copywriting experience and some language background, but you've got probably a bunch of other skills that I know nothing about that at some point might be beneficial to me. So maybe something else we could do next week is, as maybe just an information piece, share 3 things at the beginning of the meeting that you're good at that you would be able to offer to help other people in the group at, and sort of a trade or as a way to help, as something you're comfortable with. And then as the second part to that, bring what you need to work on, because I think what we'll find will happen was somebody already here will know what we need, and again, by putting it all together, we're going to get our solutions. And I know not having the answer can hold you up for weeks or months. I've recently had the chance to go and sit down with a company doctor 2 weeks ago, and literally, I wish I'd had the opportunity 6 months before, because I could have done it all in 1 week instead of waiting 6 months had I just had the answer to 3 little questions. But 6 months ago, I didn't know what the 3 questions were. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're there, and you're hung up and you're going, oh no, this doesn't make sense. Or in my case, I couldn't with integrity say that what I had done would work for women, because I didn't know that it would. Fortunately, after my discussion with Dr. Conshaven, who's the world's expert on what we do, she said that there had been no gender bias in any of her studies, because the supplement creates glutathione in your system. Your system, whether you're male or female, will do what is naturally best for your health, irrelevant of what you think or want it to do. So the example I found out about at the meeting, there was a gentleman I recruited 5 years ago. Him and his wife came into my sponsors organization beside me, actually, but I hadn't been the introduction. He had gone on for about 5 years. His wife had seen some weight loss. Her hair had started to come back in fuller because she'd had a problem with thinning hair, and she'd lost 10 pounds and 4 inches off her waist, and she was really athletic and really happy about it. But he, was still losing his hair. He wasn't losing any weight. He actually gained about 10 pounds in the first 2 years, and he's thinking, well, what's going on? What's going on? Why isn't this working for me? Long story short, just about 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it turns out that the supplement he'd been taking for the first 2 years had been saving his life, which is why he hadn't seen any improvement in his arthritis, he hadn't seen any improvement in his back pain, he hadn't seen any improvement in his vision, which are all things that can get help with the supplement. But in the preceding 3 years since his diagnosis, his tumor has shrunk by 80%. So he saved having a brain operation where they would have had to drill a hole in his skull and remove the tumor, because he started taking this supplement for 5 years, and even though there was no obvious improvement for the first 2 years, because his wife was a clinical research person in her day job before they retired, she said, we're going to go on this, and I don't care what it costs. I've seen the research. They did great research. We have to take this. And because of just that response from his wife and the fact that he was a dutiful husband, he might be alive today and in good health instead of either, you know, passing because of brain cancer or having to have a hole drilled in his head and have the tumor removed. I can't imagine the stress of facing somebody cutting part of your brain out. Like, I had stents put in, but I think that that would even creep me out more. Yeah. So we never know. We never know what we're going to face. We never know what information is going to be valued. And we never know what the outcome is going to be till we get there. If we did, we'd all be blind, right?
Michael, I don't want to be rude. I got a realtor coming shortly, so
no
I'm
problem.
going to...
We're very close to the hour. I'm going to put this one in the can. Thank you both for attending today. I really appreciate all the help and all the support that I get from this group. And we'll see you all back here next week, and we're going to learn something new and move forward again. So thank you, and have a great week, ladies.
Bye.
See you, Chris.